Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey,
I'm Dan.
and today we are excited to bring another installment in our series, Star Wars is Alive. This is the series that we developed to kind of celebrate the things about Star Wars that we love. There's a lot of controversy about Star Wars these days. We kind of started this in the height of people fighting about the Acolyte online, but we want to say, regardless of the type of Star Wars, there's always something to enjoy and to take out of it, even if it's not your favorite thing. But the whole point of this show is to talk about our favorite things. And this episode, we're talking about our favorite in universe restaurants and bars in Star Wars. What did you think of this idea when I first pitched it to you, Dan?
I initially thought it was going to be harder to do than it was,
I agree.
but then once I actually sat down, I'm like, okay, there's this one, and these seven.
And like you don't even realize sometimes like the cantina, the Mos Eisley cantina is like the most stereotypical option. And that's like of course like the movie almost comes to a halt so that you can like savor how cool and unique it is. But a lot of things show up with less fanfare. And I think that's kind
Hmm.
of what we're realizing. Like there's one that's not on the list that I want to talk about still. So like at least one. So
Yeah,
we definitely have a lot to talk about. You ready to get rolling on honorable mentions?
I am.
All right. Our honorable mentions begin with me, and that is Old Joe's Pit Stop. This is from Star Wars Rebels. If you're not familiar, or if you're listening to our audio version and are like, what on earth is he talking about? This is that bar that's in the early, and I think it shows up again in the later seasons of Star Wars Rebels, that has an old Republic gunship kind of mounted on the roof. It's got this cool kind of indoor outdoor sort of situation. And I think, as I've said, my name's Joey, and seeing how they might spell my name in Star Wars, JHO, kind of fun too. But I think that it's a very unique kind of concept. Like you can see, like think about like a vacation bar in a beach town might have some sort of ridiculous airplane mounted to the top of it. This is kind of like that for me.
Yeah, no, classic.
I almost forgot about it too, and then I was like, I remember this. I can't remember like what I loved about it. And then when I Googled it, I was like, oh yeah, I like this. Like I would want to go here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could see that being a storefront in Galaxy's Edge.
Definitely. And we both are from like small-ish towns that are kind of near bigger cities. And this kind of screams not so much the giant ship on the outside, but it screams something that would kind of be in like a small town.
Yeah,
Something charming about it. On to you,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. So this is an honorable mention for me because it's not everybody's favorite bar, but pretty impactful to the overall story, and that is Sid's Bar from The Bad Batch.
Boo! I actually
I
really
know.
love the bar. I actually really love the design of the bar.
Yeah, it was a nifty little bar and so much happened there. We
Unfortunately,
got so much character development with Omega and the bonding with her and the rest of the crew. And again, like you said, it's a cool looking bar.
it
If
really
the
is.
if the owner wasn't a total scoundrel, scum of the galaxy, I would go there. Maybe.
Nah, I think it's a place that again, kind of in line with those like scuzzy kind of small town bars. This felt very similar. Like this is not some of the other ones that we're going to talk about that are in a little more developed areas, but it kind of had like that gambling table and like it had some charm despite us
It, it
despising
did.
Sid.
And the picture doesn't do it justice. The outside.
But hey, if you are familiar with the if you aren't familiar with the Bad Batch, it has a very like we're describing kind of like basic bar look, dimly lit. It had its value though. You ready to go to your number five?
Yes. So this bar was one that I really like the clones personally. And this is the Clone Bar, also known as 79s from the Clone Wars.
I had a
And again,
feeling you were going to pick this one.
yeah, and a lot of stuff went down at 79s, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
So
For
if
better or
you guys
worse, worse.
if you're not familiar with it, 79s was really the pinnacle of the Fives arc. It all came down to 79s. Really good. Feel like it's that nice. It makes sense that it's not an out of place bar in Star Wars to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's just
And
cool. I feel
cool that
like
it gives the clones a place to kind of be because they're like
right.
a whole almost like society of people that don't really have a place.
Yeah, they have one purpose and then once that purpose is over, they don't know what's next, and but they have a bar. Pretty cool storefront.
That it is. Very
Good
Coruscant
logo
too.
too.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. Upper level core Santi.
Very, very true. Anything else to add on 79? The
Not
79s?
yet.
I
No.
really enjoy 79s. I think that is an excellent choice. But that brings us to my number five, which is Maz Kanata's Castle from The Force Awakens. Before we even get any further, I will say I am aware that this is The Force Awakens kind of, like I said, pause, let's soak it all in, very much like this is our cantina sort of situation. But I think there's just so much charm to it with that's our word of the day apparently, charm, but like with like the fire in the middle to do the cooking, and Maz is running drinks around on her little board. There's a bunch of different aliens and humans all around it. Just it has that kind of like old timey like stone feel that goes with the castle that it's in, and I just think it's super cool.
I think this is criminally low when I saw your list.
I have some things I like better.
That's fair. But yeah, that was my first thought. I'm like, oh, Maz is probably on there. Where is it? And I went to one and then two and then ugh, five.
Hey, it deserves a call out. And this particular picture, if you're watching the video version, is a screenshot of the map from Battlefront 2, the 2018 Battlefront 2. Such a wonderful map to play too.
Yeah.
We should do a Battlefront episode. This is just like doing some notes on air.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I know. I don't know what about it, but we can figure it out.
So we
That
could record our gameplay.
I don't know
Watch
that anybody wants to see that.
watch me get smoked by Joey's max level Ray.
I do. I have the Ray with like the yellow numbers, and it like animates because I've played with Ray so much. It's great. Anyway, that takes us to my number four, which is in fact Garsa Fwip's Sanctuary from the Book of Boba Fett. Why I like this one, and maybe this could have been a one where like Maz's might have slid in front of it. What I liked about it though is that it has that Mos Eisley Cantina kind of feel, but it feels cleaner. It feels like a place you actually want to go on like a Friday or Saturday night. You
It's the
got
hip
Max.
new bar.
It is. You got Max Rebo there. You've got the Rex Droid poker dealer, which you see a lot in Star Wars Outlaws. Like I think it just, I want to go to this one.
Yes.
Eh,
It's like you said, it's not scuzzy.
Not at all. It is blown up though.
Yeah. That's
So,
okay.
we'll say pre-explosion, and that we wouldn't be there when it exploded.
Yes.
Darn pikes. Also, I want to take this opportunity because of the poker, the sabak. I said poker. The sabak Rex droid, um, at on in the picture on the video version here, to just kind of call attention to Star Wars Outlaws. There's so many bars and restaurants in Star Wars Outlaws that absolutely nail the atmosphere and the feel of a Star Wars bar. So if you've not played that game, I would encourage you to play it yourself or look up some footage on YouTube of just the different like cantinas they have around there.
I think
So
it's on sale.
I think it is, and it wasn't my favorite Star Wars game, but it is certainly worth the play and very very immersive in terms of just being in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
your
I
number.
still have yet to play it, but
I think you'd enjoy it.
yes. Well, my number four, sticking in this Mando verse, my number four ranked bar is the Resistor, the droid bar.
I thought this was such a cool choice.
It's so unique. And kind of going back to 79s, it's like, of course they have a bar. Why wouldn't they have a bar? We know they have a droid spa.
Uh-huh. That
And I
that
think what they're serving spark plugs, if I
I think
remember
so.
correctly.
Yeah. This is from such a already strange episode of The Mandalorian. It's the one with Jack Black and Lizzo, and it just added to that like bit of zaniness, and I loved it. And like you said, it's so fitting.
Yeah. And that's where we got that episode's where we got the famous line. The Count Dooku was a visionary.
Uh, if you're not familiar, Count Dooku is Dan's absolute favorite Star Wars character, and we quote that line back and forth to one another, arguably way too often, I'd say, right?
Yeah, usually appropriate most times.
I would say it's often appropriate, but
It's not
maybe
like we're
too
just,
often.
yeah.
We
But
talk
I think
about
it's a
Count
cool.
Dooku. Go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
No, I was gonna say we talk about it not enough, but I mean that bar is super clean.
Yeah.
I looks like a vibe,
Like
as
I
kids
would
say.
want to go there.
I don't know what I'd get. Would we be welcome? But I think it looks like a
Eh,
fun bar.
it does. And I think it's a fun inversion on the we don't serve your kind here to the droids in the Mos Eisley Cantina too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Any ready for your number three?
I am ready for my number three. My number three is the first one from a movie, actually, that I've
Yeah.
done. And that is the Outlander Club from Attack of the Clones, another Coruscant bar. And we get the famous line, "Do you want to try death sticks?"
Elon
Implying
Sleaze Vegano.
hard drugs in the Star Wars universe.
Just out in the open.
Yeah.
This
That
is
was a,
such a cool bar.
it's a it's a cool bar, not a bar I'd go to in real life, not a club person.
No, it reminds me of some of the places that are around the Pittsburgh area that I don't want to be at.
Yeah.
They did have some like sports on the screen though, which was just not necessarily in line with like the rest of the club, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a fun time if you're not a Jedi.
They were on Jedi business
Sure. Anakin losing his lightsaber again.
again. But yeah, no, I think this is a great choice, and I think one that definitely deserves to be here because it's so like memorable, and I think it doesn't have that draw your attention to it immediately as much as the Cantina does because the scenes are kind of focused on the characters, but it gives
Hmm.
you just enough.
Yeah. I think so far all of the bars we looked at could fit in a Galaxy's Edge and not be out of place.
Yes. And it's kind of unique because it could fit, like they each have their own feel, but they're also not out of place. And that's
Hmm.
some of the power of like the people and the whole point of us starting this whole like little series is like so much care goes into preparing these things. It's not designed like this on accident.
Hmm.
You ready for my number three?
I am ready for your number three.
Dan's teeing me up. They're talking about Galaxy's Edge because at number three, something I had to fight to not put farther up because of the fondness that I have for it is Oga's Cantina at Galaxy's Edge. If you hadn't listened to it yet, Dan and I did a little bit of a breakdown of I had been to Galaxy's Edge. It just went this past summer. Um, Dan had not, and I kind of walked through what's there. What the kind of cost was it worth it? And one of my favorite experiences there was Oga's Cantina because you really feel like you're stepping into the Star Wars world. The drinks are weird. Like it's called the Fuzzy Tauntaun. You makes your mouth numb when you drink it. There's a droid Rex DJ playing, Star Wars sounding songs, if not a remix of the Cantina band song. Weird food. It was so atmospheric and it felt so immersive that I couldn't help but include it on this list.
Yeah, it's a definitely a place where I want to try. I want to go there one day. And it looks
Ooh.
fun.
It really
I've heard
is.
enough about it.
I feel like I've brought up a few things like this that I'm a big fan of it. But I think the reason that I allowed myself to drop it down a little lower is the inaccessibility. You can buy the Attack of the Clones on DVD or put it on Disney Plus and experience the Outlander Club, but you have to pay your way in to get into Ogus.
That is true.
But super cool, super unique. If you have not yet been to Galaxy's Edge, I cannot recommend it enough if you are able to afford it because it is incredible. And this is one of those pieces that really like it was a standout piece of the whole, experience for me. Anything to add on Oga's, Dan?
No, as somebody who hasn't been there, can't really chime in.
Anytime I talk about Galaxy's Edge, I feel bad.
It's
But
okay. And I say things to make you feel bad, so it's okay.
you wouldn't know it, but we are friends.
I know.
Anyway, that takes us to my number two, which is Dex's Diner Attack of the Clones. This one, I don't know if it's the nostalgia or it's just me loving Dex, but I have such fondness of this particular scene from Attack of the Clones because it's like you don't get to see Obi-Wan throughout any of Star Wars really enjoy himself much. But this really feels like he's just sitting down with a friend, doing a little bit of work on the side. And I think that like the 50s diner nature of it fused with space works like so much better than you would think upon just like a description.
Hmm.
That it certainly deserves to be on this list, and I'm happy with its placement real high on it.
was gonna say, if you didn't have Dex's Diner, I was gonna have Dex's Diner, but for a different reason. Um, the old Lego Star Wars games, the 1 through 3, it was set at Dex's Diner.
It's like that was like the hub world.
Yeah. So spent a lot of time in there.
Yeah, it's a special place. I'd love to see. We're big Lego people, the two of us. I would love to see a Dex's Diner Lego set in some capacity. I don't know that they'd
Yeah.
ever do it, but
It'd be cool though. I feel like there's definitely a mock online.
yeah, we can buy the pieces and do it ourselves. I'm a big and this isn't about Legos, but I'm a big like places Lego set person. Not so much ships, and Lego Star Wars has been veering away from that. So
Yeah.
anytime there's places, I'm a happy camper, even if I don't necessarily buy it.
Yes.
Ready for your number two?
Yes. I must take a second to gloat that I am the only one who went from the sequels here. Never mind.
No, no,
That's
no.
I know. Well, it's okay. I can say I put the sequels higher. And
Uh,
that is because my number two is the Kanto Casino from The Last Jedi. 10 out
Such
of
a cool
10.
place.
No notes would go.
Absolutely. And this is another one that's in Star Wars Outlaws. You actually get to go into this and like explore. And at first I was like I'd like trying to remember. And there are bars and little like restaurant like everything's scattered all throughout like a real casino.
Hmm.
It's so cool. And like you can tell that it's like the richest of the rich of the galaxy, a side that we don't really get to see very often.
Yeah. We the most of the time we do see the rich of the rich, it's the crime lords
Yeah.
and the
And they
syndicates.
and they're not as necessarily public facing as going to the Kanto Casino.
Right. It's like I get the Monaco vibes from that.
Uh-huh. It's super cool. I think like something, if I recall, like a little piece of lore is like that lake is like, or waterfall is like man-made and they like bring the water in because they like dried it all out. It's so like commentary sort of thing, but that's a fun fact for you. Or not so fun fact if you're from Cantonica. But no,
I'm personally not, but
me either. But I think it's an excellent choice.
yeah, I would of all of the bars on this list, this would be the one I'd probably want to go to the most.
Certainly the fanciest. And I
I
think
can't afford it, but I'd go.
oh man. And I know we already did our honorable mentions, but before we get to your number one, is there anything that we didn't quite get a chance to mention that you kind of wanted to call quick attention to?
No, unfortunately not.
I have one, and it is from the Acolyte. It's the noodle bar from the very
Mm,
beginning, where we
yeah,
see Indara and May have their little fight. I thought that, again, feelings on the Acolyte aside, such a cool designed little place.
yeah,
The way the light was shining through, the cool like food that they were eating, super cool. Not one that I
yeah.
would necessarily want to go to, but
Nah, probably not in the best area, but again, like you said, all of the bars and restaurants on this list look cool too, which helps.
cool and unique. And I think that like I feel like very few of these have similar design aesthetics, which is such a speaks to the power of the different types of design elements in Star Wars.
Hmm.
Yeah, you ready for your number one?
Yes.
It's a
If you,
biggie.
I was gonna say it was mentioned a couple times. You knew it was probably gonna be on this list. Joey was gracious enough to leave it for me. It is the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Of course it is. It belongs on one of us at number one.
Yeah, if not both of us, but I'm sure I'll hear why it's not Joey's in a second. Um, I mean, you can go on and on about this. Probably one of the most iconic settings in Star Wars. We meet
Absolutely.
so many people here. We get to see a lightsaber for the first time, do cool lightsaber things. By that I mean chop somebody's arm off.
With
We get
blood,
introduced, yeah, get introduced to Han Solo, where he shot first.
certainly. The music,
The iconic music. Some of probably the second most iconic music from Star Wars.
I would say up
Third,
there.
third.
Second or third between
I'd
Imperial
say,
March main theme.
yeah, I'd say it's after Imperial March.
Yeah. And I think something that I love about it is it's so like dimly lit and they have the light at the center in the bar like drawing you in that
Hmm.
like I could never as like a kid watching it like quite pick the layout out. Like I know that it was shot like different, like they did reshoots because George Lucas wasn't happy about the like um the costumes and stuff. There's actually Force Center did an excellent like breakdown of the history of the cantina scene. Force Center podcast. Consider listening to that when you're done with this episode, listeners or Dan. But like I that kind of nebulous like structural area of it kept it so mysterious to me.
Hmm.
And you can explore this in Outlaws too, which is sweet. But
Yeah.
that does take some of the mystery away.
So I explored this thoroughly in Lego Star Wars
Yeah?
and Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2, yeah.
Yeah,
So cool.
you can
Uh-huh.
go to the
Yeah,
cantina,
you can.
right?
Uh-huh. And the Lego set is awesome. I didn't end up getting that myself, but I was on the verge.
Still time.
As retired.
Well, you can find it online.
I look rich to you, Dan.
Not yet.
Thanks for that. I appreciate your faith. But yeah, no, this is a special place that, like I said, deserves number one. And it's made a few appearances, like Outlaws. Seeing it in The Mandalorian in like a whole different light was kind of crazy.
Hmm.
It just, it's a special place in the history of Star Wars for sure.
Yes, we're the, how did Obi-Wan describe it? The lowest of the low.
The wretched hive of scum and villainy
Yes.
that it is. People are dying, getting their arms cut off.
Just some banging music.
Yes, they are. You ready for my number one?
I am. I'm ready to hear the history of your number one.
All right. So, my number one is not nearly even remotely as iconic as the Mos Eisley Cantina, but as you can tell, this is my list, and I'm sure you have your list. My number one here is Pyloon's Saloon from Star Wars Jedi Survivor. First and foremost, I'm an enormous fan of the Jedi Survivor Fallen Order games. Absolutely love them. But this bar here, and I'm going to go light on the story-based details to it, but this bar is kind of on your hub world for Jedi Survivor. Unlike Fallen Order, which Dan has played a little bit of, this is for you and the listener, Dan. It you kind of return back to this hub world consistently. And one of my favorite things in video games is when you kind of get like a home base and then you go do something for the story or you do a side quest and then your home base starts to be built up more and more and more.
Hmm.
And this bar, Pyloon Saloon, kind of serves that. It's like three stories. The main floors, which you see here, there's a bartender that's kind of on a track around the bar. There's a kitchen behind that you can watch him like ride around on his track to and start cooking. There's booths around the outside, which you can't really see. Then there's a second floor where there's like a game table, an aquarium, which you can see kind of in this picture if you're watching the video version from floor to ceiling, and you can catch fish and it fills up the tank and you get new music. It just starts to like really bring this whole bar to life. The picture on the screen, if you're watching the video version, is from early on in the game where there's not much going on. But for me, like the attachment, even maybe more than Oga's Cantina, which felt very, quick. They got to get as many people into Oga's Cantina as they can. I felt like I spent so much time in Pyloon Saloon and made it my own, and that is why it has to be number one on my list.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And like you said, I love games where you can see the effects of what you do.
Hmm.
And it just incentivizes doing the little side quests to catch the fish, to go find the music.
Yeah, and it all like comes together. And there's even like fun details like there's a bathroom, there's a basement, there's a like Cal's room is kind of in here. There's a rooftop garden. Like this is one of
How
my favorite.
fancy.
Yeah, no, this is like one of my favorite video game, even outside of Star Wars, video game like hub locations. It helps that it's Star Wars.
It does help that it's Star Wars.
I know it's probably hard for you to add much more than what you've said, but I hope that I my excitement shows why I like it so much.
Yeah, no, you sold me.
Cool. So when you play it, you'll look forward to it.
I know, I am excited to play it.
You'll get there. Once you get off of
I
Zepho,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
a
on
little bit of a
Dathomir.
maze. Okay, okay, okay. You'll get there.
No, I went to Dathomir first. Never mind, I'm on Zephyr.
Anyway, that is our list of our favorite restaurants and bars in Star Wars. Do you have anything to add about this list, Dan? What you think of it overall?
Very fitting for our two personalities.
Absolutely. Dan's a clone man. I love the sequels and Rebels and Jedi games. So I think we hit the high notes and some unique stuff as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we hope you enjoyed. And do you think that we're absolutely insane? Is there
Yes.
a list, something that on your list that you would want to see that you can't believe that we didn't have here? We would absolutely love to hear from you. Please let us know, comment, tweet at us, whatever means of contact you'd like to get in touch with us. Please let us know what you think of our list and what your list is. But with that, we thank you for listening. We really, really appreciate it. And please consider giving us a review, a like, a subscription, comment, all that on YouTube or the podcast platform of your choice. Consider giving us a follow on Twitter or X at Blue Shadow Pod or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. And with that, we thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.